In this project, we're going to do something relatively simple. We're going to build an FAQ accordion slider. So basically, we'll have a list of questions and answers. The answers will be hidden initially, and then we'll click on the question, and then the answer will kind of slide down, have a little slide down animation. So that's what we'll be building. And before we start, I just want to take a quick look at the Jquery Ui. The Jquery Ui offers a lot of different pre-made widgets, I guess you could call them, and the accordion is actually one of them. So if you wanted to just use that, that would be really simple. You just include the file and you include the plugin in one line of code. But I wanted to just build our own because you're somewhat limited when you use the widgets, but we'll still take a look at that. So for the project itself, we'll create question and answer list items. We will add an event to show an answer under a specific question, and we'll have the ability to change the event type and adjust the speed of animation. So we'll have a few parameters. We'll be able to say hover if we want to be able to hover over the questions instead of click or double click. Speed of animation is self-explanatory. It's just how fast the answer opens. So sections, we have the project introduction, the FAQ slider HTML. In section 3 we'll do the CSS, and then in section 4 we'll do the main JavaScript and jQuery. So things we'll learn in this project are the jQuery next method, the siblings and children methods, and how content relates to each other. We'll look at the slide up, slide down, and slide toggle methods, and we'll also be using jQuery and CSS to rotate an image. Okay, so when we click on a question, it'll have a little arrow next to it, and when we click it, it should turn and look down towards the answer. So we'll be doing that. Alright, so pretty easy. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, so in this chapter we're going to build an FAQ slider. So basically we have a bunch of questions here, and if we click on one, then the answer is going to pop out or slide out from underneath it. Alright, and this doesn't have to be limited to an FAQ section. I guess it could be for pretty much any kind of document with text fields that relate to each other. And you can see that when we click on one, if there's one open, it'll close. Alright, and we don't have to make it like that. That's just how I did it. And you can see that we have this little icon that faces downward when we click on it. Alright, so this is pretty easy to implement. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention the jQuery Ui user interface. And if you go to jqueryui.com, you'll have this section on the side here with pre-made widgets that you can use. Alright, so basically there's all types of them, but the accordion is actually one of them. Alright, which works just like the slider I just showed you. Alright, so if you want something quick and easy, you could always just take this. They have the code right here. Basically, you're going to have a div with an ID, and then inside of there you'll have a heading and a div with a paragraph. Alright, and then the only JavaScript that you need to do to get this to work is just use the accordion plugin right here. So you want to put the name of your div and then .accordion, and jQuery will do the rest. And of course you do have to include the jQuery Ui file. You can use the CDN or the actual file, just like jQuery. Alright, so I just wanted to mention that, and if you look at some of the other ones they have here, date pickers, okay, so a little calendar pops up. Slider, okay, so it's kind of like just a HTML slider function. Tabs is another one. Okay, so you can have these tabs formatted, and they give you the source code right here. Again, this is just using just the plugin, just tabs. Okay, that's all you have to do. It's very easy. There's also effects. Okay, so things like color animations. Alright, you can see the code here. Alright, so just a function, not too difficult. All kinds of effects and widgets. So I'd suggest that you just take a look around the UI website. A lot of these things are just really simple to implement. But anyway, let's get back to our FAQ slider. Alright, so basically in this video I want to create the HTML, and this is going to be a small project. There's only about 25 lines of JavaScript, of jQuery. So I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it FAQ Slider. Alright, and as far as images, we just have this arrow image. Alright, so I'm just going to bring that over. You can grab that right from the project files. Alright, so we'll create our index HTML file. And let's do a CSS folder. Oh. Alright, and we want our JavaScript folder. And in our CSS folder we want to create a new file and call it style.css. Okay, and then JavaScript. Let's call this script.js. Alright, now we can open all these files in Notepad++ or whatever your code editor. Let me get rid of these. Whatever your code editor is. Alright, so HTML. I'm going to go ahead and do the HTML5 doc type. I like to do this in all caps. Okay, so we'll do our head section. Title, let's say FAQ Slider. And let's link our CSS file. And let's see, href is going to go to css/style.css. Alright, and then our JavaScript file. Script.js. Okay, and we need to include jQuery. I'm just going to grab the Google CDN. Okay, just grab that. And the body. Alright, so what we're going to do is, if we look at the project, let's look at the slider. We're going to have a container, okay, that's going to wrap around everything. Then we have an H1 here, and we'll have a div here for this title. And then each one of these is going to be this is going to be an unordered list, and then this will be an li tag with the class of Q for question, and this will be the next li with the class of A. So it'll just rotate QA, QA. Alright, so pretty easy. So we want a div ID of container, and then we'll have our H1 here, say jQuery FAQ Slider, and then we'll have our title, so div class title, and we'll say FAQ Slider using jQuery. Whoops, that's just a div. Actually, no, we want it. This should be an H3. Should be an H3 in the div. Alright, now we want our unordered list, so UL and let me see, we'll give it an ID of FAQ. Actually, let's make that a class because we might have more than one of these on a page. Okay, FAQ, and then we'll have an LI. Okay, so this LI will have a class of Q. Alright, and class A. Alright, so basically we're just going to rotate these. Actually, let me do the whole thing before I copy and paste. So the question, we're going to have that arrow icon before the text. Alright, so we'll do image src, and that's going to go in the image folder, and then arrow, I forget what it's called. Is it arrow? Yep, just arrow PNG. Alright, so we have the image, then we're going to have some text. I'm just going to grab, okay, to represent our question. Okay, so that's the question, then the answer is just going to be some more text. I'm going to grab that. Okay, so now we can just copy this. Three, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we get 6 question and answer sets. And that's it for the HTML. Let's take a look at it. It's not going to look very good. Again, I'm not on a server, so this Google CDN, I'm just going to add HTTPS : or we get the loop problem. Alright, so here it is without any CSS. So in the next video we'll make this look like this. Alright, so we have the HTML done for our FAQ accordion slider. So now we're going to move on to the CSS and make it look good. Alright, and this is also going to be a responsive application. You can see the finished application. If we shrink the browser, still looks pretty good. Alright, so let's go to style.css and we'll start out zeroing everything out on the page. Okay, so we'll set margin to 0 and padding to 0. Alright, so for the body, we're going to use font family. I'm going to use Tahoma. Haven't used that in a while. Alright, and the color of the text is going to be a dark gray. I'm going to make the font size a little bigger than usual. We're going to do 16 pixels, and the background of the body is going to be a really light gray, so that's F9 3 times, and then we'll give it a line height of 1.6 EM. Okay, so that's good for the body. Let's check it out. Alright, so everything's zeroed out. Okay, so some global styles. I want to set the list item and the unordered list to have a list style of none. Okay, we don't want any bullet points. Okay, the container. Like I said, it's going to be responsive, so we're going to set the width to a percentage. I'm going to set it to 60%. And we want it pushed to the middle, so let's do 30 on the top and bottom and auto on the sides. And let's also make the overflow auto. Okay, so that should move everything into the middle. Okay, Next we'll do the H1 tag. Okay, so for H1 I'm going to align it to the center. Okay, and also give it a margin bottom of 20 pixels. And then the title will have a height of 40 pixels, and we'll give it a background of that greenish color. Okay, which is where is it? It's 6BB A70 or A70. The color of the text will be white, and we want to align that to the center as well. And let's give it a padding top of 13 pixels. Alright, so that looks good. Next we'll do the actual list items. Alright, so first we'll do all the lists. I believe we have a UL with the class of FAQ. Okay, so let's say FAQ LI. Okay, so this will apply to the questions and answers, and I just want to add a padding of 20 pixels. Alright, so next we'll do the questions. So we have .faq li.q. Alright, and we're going to make the background gray. The font weight will be bold. I'm going to make the font size a little bigger. I'm going to do 120%. And let's set a border bottom of 1 pixel. We'll make that another shade of gray and solid. Okay, and then finally we want the cursor to be a pointer when we hover over it. Okay, so that's the question. Alright, so that looks good. Now we want to add a background to the answer. So let's say FAQ li.a, and we're going to give it a background of DDD. And we want to initially, we're going to display none. Let me just see what it looks like. Alright, so that's good. Now what we want to do is hide the answers initially, and we're going to do that with CSS. We could do it with jQuery or CSS. Doesn't really matter. So we're going to set this to display none. Okay, so now that they should all be hidden. Okay, good. And I want this to be responsive, and it's pretty much responsive by nature, but you can see if we go down like this, there's way too much space on each side. So we're just going to do a media query. So media. Alright, and for the parameter we're going to say max width, and that's going to be 800 pixels. Okay, so basically when it's 800 pixels or less, we're going to go ahead and take the container div, and we're going to set the width to 90% as opposed to 60%. Okay, so now if we reload, you can see now there's less room on the sides. When we get to 800 pixels, it goes back, okay, to being thinner. So that's all we really need to do to make it responsive. And that's it. That's it for the CSS. Very simple. In the next video, we'll go ahead and add the logic, the JavaScript, and jQuery. Alright, so we have our accordion slider looking good. We don't have any JavaScript yet, so if we click on a question, nothing's going to happen. Alright, so let's go ahead and go into our script file. Alright, and the first thing I want to do is set some options. Just a couple settings, I guess. So the action, I want to make it so, what am I doing? Yeah, that's right. So I want to make it so that you can choose to either click on a question, to open it, or double click it, or hover over it. Alright, and the default is going to be click. Alright, the next one is going to be the speed at which it opens. Okay, so for the speed, I'm going to say 500 milliseconds. Alright, and what we need to do is make sure the document's ready before we go any further. Alright, so we're going to use jQuery document.ready, if I can spell it. Okay, when the document's ready, we're going to run a function. Alright, and let's see what we got to do first. We know that we need a handler for the question. Alright, so whether it's click or whatever. So we can grab the question by using the li.q selector. Alright, and then we're going to say dot on. Okay, whoop. So dot on click, and we need to run a function. Alright, now I'm going to replace this click with the variable action, alright, because we may want to use hover or another action. Alright, so we're just going to stick that in there. Alright, so when it's clicked or hovered or whatever we want to get the next element, because if we look, the question directly after that, let's go ahead and look at the HTML here. You can see down here we have li class q. Alright, and the next thing after that, you can close that, is the li class a. Alright, so that's how we can access the next, we can access the answer. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this, which refers to the question we click on, dot next. Okay, so basically the next element is going to be the answer, and we're going to do a little chaining here. Alright, we can call methods one after another. So what we're going to do is toggle slide. Alright, jQuery has a slide up, slide down, and a slide toggle function. Alright, so I'm going to kind of do it like this. Okay, slide toggle. Alright, and then in here we're going to pass the speed. Alright, and then after that, actually, you know what, let's just we'll keep that for now, because ultimately I want, if you click on a question, if there's an open answer, that should close, but we'll do that after. Right now I just want to make sure that we can do the slide toggle. Okay, so if we reload, okay, something's not, oh, I put a dot right here. Li is not a class, it's an element, so we gotta get rid of that. Alright, so we'll reload, try this again. Alright, so now it's working, and you can see that I can just open them all and I can close them. We have toggle, so it'll open and close. Alright, but I want to make it so that when you click one, if another one's open, that one should close, so you can only view one at a time. And it doesn't have to be like that. If you would prefer it this way, that's absolutely fine. But if we want to do that, then we're going to keep chaining on to this. Alright, so we're going to say dot, and then we want to pick all of the questions, so we want the siblings. So we're going to use dot siblings, and then for a parameter, we're going to pass in li.a, because that's what we want. Alright, and then we're going to add to that, we're going to say slide up. Okay, so basically we want them to slide out of view. So if we save that and reload, we can open one. Alright, well, something's going on here. Unexpected token dot line 9. Oh, we have two dots here. Alright, so we'll open one, open another, and then the other one closes. Alright, so we're almost there. The last thing I want to do is this arrow here, this little icon, I want it to switch to look down when we click on a question. Alright, so what we're going to do is go now. You want to still be inside of this handler. Alright, don't click out after this this ending semicolon. Okay, you want to stay in there, and basically we're gonna grab the image. I'm gonna put it into a variable. Alright, so to get it, we can use this dot children. Okay, so we can grab child elements, and we will just want to pass in img. Okay, we just want to pass in the element, and then we want to say that every image that's not this image, we're going to remove the class rotate, because ultimately we want to give the arrow, the active arrow, a class of rotate, and we're just going to add that CSS style to actually rotate the image. Alright, so what we can do, actually I should be putting comments in here. So this is going to remove the rotate class. Remove the rotate class for all images except the active. Alright, here, let's put a comment here as well. Okay, we'll say get image in question, or get image for active question. Alright, let's put a comment here, say get next element, and slide toggle siblings. Select all other answers, and then this question handler. Alright, so what we're going to do is say jQuery img, so this is going to take all images, and we're going to say dot not. We're going to use the not method, and then we're going to just pass in img. So every image that's not the one that we put in the variable, which is this image. Okay, so, and then we're just going to say remove class. Okay, remove class, rotate. Now, we didn't actually put a class of rotate on anything, so what we're going to do is toggle it from jQuery. Okay, so toggle rotate class. Alright, so we're going to take that image variable, and we're going to say dot toggle class rotate. Alright, and then in the CSS we just have to add the rotate class. Alright, and we're going to say transform rotate, and then we want to just put the degrees, which is going to be 90 degrees. We want to rotate it, and we should also add the vendor specific selectors as well. Okay, so we want Moz and WebKit. Alright, so let's try this out. Okay, we'll click, goes down, click again, goes back. Alright, so it's working perfectly. So this is a very simple project which you can reuse over and over in your websites or your applications. You could even turn this into some kind of drop-down menu. There's a lot you can do. So thanks for watching.